Let me ask you something. Think about the last time you made a promise to yourself. Maybe it was at the start of the year. Maybe it was on a Monday morning. Maybe it was at 2 a.m. when you couldn't sleep and you were lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about your life, about where you are, about where you thought you'd be by now. And in that moment, you made a decision. You said, "This time is different. This time I'm going to wake up early. This time I'm going to stop making excuses. This time I'm going to eat better, train harder, work smarter, show up differently. This time I'm serious." And you meant it. You genuinely, deeply, completely meant it. So what happened? Because here you are, watching this video, which tells me one of two things. Either you're doing great and you want to do even better, or somewhere between that promise and today, something got in the way. And the frustrating part, the part that nobody talks about, is that the thing that got in the way wasn't life. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't circumstances. It wasn't other people. It was you. Not because you're weak, not because you don't care, not because you're broken or lazy or not built for success, but because there is a war happening inside your mind, a silent, invisible, exhausting war, and most people are losing it without even knowing they're fighting. That war has a name. It's called self-sabotage. And in the next hour, we are going to go deeper into this topic than any motivational video, any self-help book, any Instagram caption ever has. We're going to talk about the neuroscience, the psychology, the childhood roots, the hidden patterns you don't even realize you're running. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what you actually do about it. Not a 30-day challenge, not a morning routine, not just believe in yourself. A real, psychological, neurologically backed framework for rewriting the patterns that are keeping you stuck. So if you've ever felt like you're your own worst enemy, this video is for you. Stay with me, because this might be the most important hour you spend this year. Before we can fix something, we have to understand it. And I mean really understand it. Not on the surface level of "I keep procrastinating" or "I always give up," but at the root, at the neurological, psychological, deeply human level. So let's start here. What is self-sabotage? The simple definition is this. Self-sabotage is when your behaviors, your thoughts, and your choices work against your own goals and best interests. But that definition doesn't even scratch the surface of how complex and layered this really is. Because here's what most people assume. They assume that self-sabotage is conscious. They assume that people who self-sabotage know they're doing it and choose to do it anyway, like some part of them wants to fail. But that's almost never true. Self-sabotage is almost entirely unconscious. It operates below the level of your awareness. It disguises itself as reasonable behavior. It wears the costume of logic, of caution, of "I'm just being realistic." It looks like scrolling your phone for an hour instead of starting the project you've been putting off for weeks. It looks like saying "I'll start Monday" every Sunday night. It looks like getting incredibly busy the moment something important needs your attention. It looks like picking fights with the people who love you right when things are going well. It looks like suddenly developing self-doubt the moment an opportunity appears. And here's the thing. In the moment, none of these feel like self-sabotage. They feel justified. They feel natural. They feel like the only logical response to the situation. Because your brain is incredibly good at making destructive behavior feel like protection. And that word, protection, is the key to understanding all of this. Here's what neuroscience tells us. Your brain has one primary job, one overarching mission that it has been running since the moment you were born. And that job is not to make you happy. It's not to make you successful. It's not to help you reach your goals or live your best life. Your brain's primary job is to keep you alive, to keep you safe, to protect you from perceived threats. And your brain does this through a system called homeostasis, which is the tendency of your entire biological system to seek and maintain a state of balance, of stability, of the familiar. Now, homeostasis is brilliant when it comes to regulating your body temperature, your heart rate, your breathing. That's all happening automatically right now, and you don't have to think about it at all. But the problem is that your brain applies this same principle to your psychology, to your habits, to your identity, to your patterns of thought and behavior. Your brain has built a model of who you are based on everything you've ever experienced, everything you've been told about yourself, every result you've ever gotten, every environment you've ever lived in. And it works incredibly hard to keep you consistent with that model. Not because that model is good for you, but because it's known, because it's familiar, because familiar to your brain equals safe. And change, even positive change, registers to the subconscious mind as a threat. Let that sink in for a second. Change, positive change, the thing you want most, the thing you're working toward, the goals you set, the dreams you have, they register in your subconscious mind as a threat to your survival, because they require you to become someone different from who your brain currently believes you are. And when your subconscious senses that threat, it activates. It pulls you back. It creates resistance. It floods your mind with doubt and fear and reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, or can't. And that pulling back, that resistance, those doubts, that's self-sabotage. It's not weakness. It's not a character flaw. It's your brain doing exactly what brains are designed to do: protect the known, defend the familiar, resist the unfamiliar. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. The RAS is essentially your brain's filter. Because here's the thing, your brain receives somewhere between 11 million and 40 million bits of information every single second through your senses. But your conscious mind can only process about 40 to 50 of those bits. So the RAS filters everything. It decides what gets through to your conscious awareness and what gets blocked. And how does it decide? Based on what it believes is relevant to you, based on your dominant thoughts, your beliefs, your identity, and your goals. If you believe you are bad with money, your RAS will filter your reality to constantly show you evidence of that. You'll notice every mistake, every missed opportunity, every time you overspend, and you'll completely filter out the moments where you manage money well, because those don't match the story. If you believe you're unlucky, your RAS will show you all the bad luck and filter out the good. If you believe you're not smart enough, not good enough, not ready, your brain will build a reality that confirms that. This is called confirmation bias at the neurological level. And it means that self-sabotage isn't just about behavior, it's about perception. It's about the story your brain is constantly telling about who you are and what you're capable of. The behaviors follow the beliefs, always. So the real question isn't, how do I stop procrastinating, or how do I build more discipline? The real question is, what does my subconscious mind currently believe about me? And is that belief driving me forward or pulling me back? We're going to get to that answer. But first, I need to show you the 5 faces of self-sabotage, because most people only recognize one of them. When most people hear self-sabotage, they think about procrastination. And yes, procrastination is one of the most common forms of self-sabotage, but it's also the most obvious, the most talked about, the most surface level. If we only focus on procrastination, we miss the deeper, more insidious patterns that are silently running in the background, undermining everything we're trying to build. So, let's go through all 5. Let's start here because it needs to be reframed. Most people think procrastination is about being lazy or indisciplined. Productivity gurus treat it like a time management problem that can be solved with the right planner or the right app. But the research tells a completely different story. Dr. Fuchsia Sorois at Durham University has spent years studying procrastination, and her findings are clear.
Procrastination is fundamentally an emotion regulation problem, not a time management problem. When you procrastinate, you're not avoiding the task, you're avoiding the negative emotion associated with the task. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's fear of judgment. Maybe it's the overwhelming pressure of perfectionism, the belief that if you can't do it perfectly, it's not worth starting. And avoiding those feelings feels like relief in the short term. Scrolling Instagram feels better than sitting with the anxiety of a blank page. Cleaning your room feels more productive than facing the fear of a difficult conversation. But the cost is, every time you avoid the task to avoid the feeling, you're reinforcing the neural pathway that says, this thing is dangerous, avoid it. You're making the fear bigger. And the next time, it's harder to start. And the time after that, harder still. This is why willpower alone never fixes procrastination. You can't white-knuckle it your way out of an emotional pattern. You have to address the emotion underneath. We'll talk about how. But first, let's move to pattern 2. This one is fascinating.